In July 2024, Iraq introduced a new controversial bill that permits the marriage of girls as young as 9 years old. In this modern day, a Muslim nation that holds a seat in the Council of Human Rights is striving to enact a bill that approves child marriage in accordance with Islamic doctrine. A commonly used tactic to discredit Islam and its prophet is to attack the practice of child marriage. One particular example that is often exploited is the marriage of Aisha at the young age of 6 years old to the Prophet of Islam, Muhammad, who was 50 years old when he married her. Christian missionaries frequently employ this argument to portray Christianity as superior to Islam, blatantly disregarding the historical and cultural factors that contribute to this practice. Knowingly or unknowingly, they ignore the fact that the same issue existed in Christianity and Judaism for hundreds of years until very recently in modern times. Therefore, I urge you to watch this video until the very end. The issue of child marriage is extremely delicate, and I want to make it clear from the outset that I completely denounce such practice. Islamic or not, it is unacceptable and, in my opinion, a horrific act. I'm not even trying to justify or defend Islam, its prophet, Christianity, or the wickedness of child marriage when discussing this very sensitive topic. On the contrary, I aim to delve beyond the superficial level and examine the root causes behind this phenomenon and why it continues to persist to this day. If you're genuinely interested in a productive conversation and truly want to prioritize the betterment of humanity, there are two essential guidelines that must be strictly adhered to. Firstly, we must avoid any form of hypocrisy or personal agenda, such as promoting one's own faith or belief over another. Secondly, we must refrain from needlessly antagonizing others from other faiths. While it is true that the Prophet of Islam married a young girl at the age of 6 and their marriage was consummated when she was 9, it is worth noting that similar instances of child marriage have occurred in Christianity as well. For example, Cecile of France, the daughter of devout Christian Philip I, was married at the age of 8 years old to Tancred, a leader of the first Crusaders, who was over 30 years old. Another example is Matilda of England, also a devout Christian, who was wed at the age of 11 to the 40-year-old Henry the Lion. But perhaps the most important example is that of Virgin Mary. According to Jewish traditions and most biblical scholars, Mary was between the age of 12 and 15 when she was engaged to her husband-to-be, Joseph, and gave birth to Jesus. It is important to recognize that child marriage has been a global issue, not exclusive to any one religion, and has only recently begun to receive the attention it deserves. So enough of these religious battles and one is better than the other. But here is the thing. Although history is in the past, it is crucial to acknowledge which nations still uphold this awful tradition in today's world. Which countries have progressed and outlawed this abhorrent practice, and which ones continue to implement and justify it? And what are the reasons behind their actions? In exploring these inquiries, it is impossible to overlook the significance of an evident truth. This is where we witness fingers pointing at Islam. The vast majority of nations that perpetuate, legitimize, and defend child marriage within their legal systems are predominantly Islamic countries. Two Muslim nations, Saudi Arabia and Yemen, do not even establish a minimum legal age for marriage. In Lebanon, it's permissible for girls as young as 9 years old to be wedded. Sudan permits girls to be married at the onset of puberty, regardless of their age. Iran sets the minimum age for girls to marry at 13, while Kuwait and Chad set it at 15 years old. On the other hand, the majority of countries worldwide, 168 in total, have set a universal minimum marriage age of at least 18 years old for girls. These current statistics, facts, and figures prompt us to ask, why, while the majority of the world has progressed to outlaw child marriage, does the Muslim world persist in making it lawful and acceptable? It is only then that we can raise the question, is the Islamic doctrine the underlying cause of this issue's stubborn persistence in the Muslim world? Or is it true that Islam is truly innocent from this abhorrent practice? In order to maintain objectivity, it is evident that while the issue was previously global and not tied to a specific religion, it is now most prevalent in Muslim communities in today's world. This is apparent even in progressive countries like Australia, for example, where child marriage is illegal, yet instances of forced marriages at a very young age still occur within Muslim communities. It is not my intention to shame or ostracize any particular group, but it is crucial to acknowledge the root cause of the issue without walking on eggshells. In my deep understanding of the issue occurs in both Muslim countries and within Muslim communities in the Western world due to two primary factors that I would like to address. One of the primary influences behind the acceptance of child marriage in Islam is the unwavering belief that its prophet, Muhammad, is without fault. The man is simply infallible. This deeply ingrained belief among Muslims holds that the Prophet's actions and deeds are the epitome of ethical behavior and unmatched morality. This principle, however, distorts the ability to view child marriage as inherently wrong and unethical. They think that, after all, if the Prophet himself engaged in such a practice, then it must have some level of acceptance or boundaries within the faith. And instead of acknowledging the problematic nature of a 53-year-old man marrying a 6-year-old, Muslim leaders and apologists try to justify it by insisting that as long as the girl has reached puberty and shows signs of maturity, she is ready for marriage. They defend the Prophet's actions by contextualizing them within the cultural and historical norms of his time, blurring the line between reason and justification. But understanding the reasons behind a wrongdoing doesn't make it right. It is essential to recognize something as wrong without justifying it, while also acknowledging the context in which it occurred, simply because they didn't know any better. This has happened repeatedly in the past, including within the Islamic faith. In the past, human sacrifice was a cultural norm and was practiced by various pagan religions. However, Islam, Christianity, and other religions have denounced this practice without using societal norms as a justification. Similarly, the widespread consumption and sale of alcohol was once accepted until Islam clearly rejected it. So why is it that when it comes to child marriage, Muslims insist on viewing it through the lens of societal norms of that time? Instead, why can't Muslims, while still venerating and revering their Prophet, denounce child marriage as utterly wrong and hold on to the belief that the Prophet didn't know any better, and yet we should not allow such a practice today? The underlying cause for this is the belief among Muslims that prophets in general, and Muhammad in particular, are only capable of committing minor errors, but not significant ones. However, this belief directly contradicts the abhorrent practice of child marriage, which is deemed unacceptable by modern societal norms and today's progressive values. It is a major error. Engaging in pedophilia, whether within the confines of marriage or not, is an outrageous offense that we can no longer overlook or consider as a minor error. Hence, the legitimization of child marriages in the above-mentioned Muslim countries persist due to the belief that to do otherwise would imply a profound flaw in the revered Prophet. The practice of marrying children is simply tolerated as those who revere the Prophet cannot even conceive of him being blamed for a heinous act. The second most important factor that Muslim countries are stuck with such an evil practice, as well as many other practices for that matter, is their resistance to secularization. This is why we find issues that may have been part of the Christian beliefs in the past are not present or practiced today, simply because of the separation of church and state. You can believe whatever you want to believe, for as long as it remains personal belief and not legislations for all. You can believe in the highest moral being with the utmost universal wisdom talking to you every night in your dreams. That is your right. But the moment you want others to abide by what that being is telling you in your dreams, then we have a problem. In today's world, the concept of secularization has become a vital factor in shaping our society. It promotes individual freedoms and stands for minority groups, which may often conflict with religious beliefs. However, when it comes to Islam and its rejection of secularization, a unique problem arises. Islam, by nature, is not just a personal belief or religion, but it is also a political movement and has Sharia law that seeks to establish a justice and legal system for ruling nations. This is why Islam and secularization cannot coexist peacefully. The principles of secularization that advocate for the separation of religion and state are directly opposed to the Islamic belief that religion should govern all aspects of life, including political and legal matters. That is evident in the constitution of many Muslim nations, including Saudi Arabia and Egypt, where you find the constitution embodies the belief that Islam holds a central role. In Egypt, for example, the second article of the constitution declares Islam is the religion of the state, and the principles of Islamic law, Sharia, are the main source of legislation. Regardless of whether a nation adheres to Sharia law or not, the presence of Islam as the state religion effectively eliminates the possibility of secularization. It is a major factor why countries such as Iran, Sudan, Lebanon, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, Iraq, Yemen, and many other countries continue to legalize the practice of child marriages. As someone who strongly identifies as humanitarian, I am acutely aware of the stark contrast between liberal values and those enforced by Islamic beliefs. It is concerning that in this modern time, where human rights are supposed to be upheld, especially children's rights, there are still societies where the rights of children are being disregarded in the name of religion. As activists, it is our duty to raise awareness and speak out against such practices and religious beliefs before it is too late. Instead of being quick to label people as Islamophobic, you need to focus on the bigger picture: the protection of human rights and the well-being of all individuals, especially our children. Let us promote meaningful discussions and raise awareness for the betterment of all humanity.